She has been a friend to the club for more than 10 years. Courtney Warnsman, PhD. That takes a lot to get one of those. And she has assisted our beloved Kathy for many years doing the monthly resume tweaking, but she's had a new career move. She's now Vice President of Austin Career Connections, so she's become a little bit busy, as well as still being an Executive Development Program Consultant to the Baylor Executive MBA program. So if you do go after your MBA, you'll probably see Courtney again. And as if that isn't enough, she is the mother to a wonderful aspiring ballerina tween daughter, high maintenance. And if you don't think a daughter who's a tween is high maintenance, you come talk to me. I've had two of them. Today, Courtney shares her tough love with us in her presentation. Don't believe the hype. You're too old, you're too expensive, you aren't trainable, yada yada. She's going to bust that myth and provide you ways to combat age discrimination, and now that makes a great opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Courtney Warnsman.
Real quick question, not to single anybody out, but raise your hand if you were born in 1980 or later.
1980 or later?
Yeah. Okay, all right. So you will still get a lot out of today. Just hang in there. For those of you who know me, have heard me speak before, you know I do use tough love. I will give you grief, but it's only because I love you. And I don't expect you all to sit there quietly and passively just listen to me gab at you for a little while. We are going to be engaged. I do want you to ask questions. So let's get after it. I'm just going to show you this quickly. There is something in the career development industry that they're calling employability skills, okay? These are all the things that all companies are looking for no matter what. And we're going to spend very little time on this diagram because it doesn't really matter, other than the fact that if you look at these, the majority of those boxes are soft skills. How many of you are actually talking about your soft skills in your career search? Okay, those are the things that may put you above some other people. The critical thinking, the resource management. As I was getting ready for this talk, I just did a quick Google search on employability skills, and the things that come up, notice that almost everything on here is a soft skill. Those are important. We forget about them because we know that companies hire us to do something, but if you're up against 3 or 4 other people for the same job and they're going to hire you based on your skills, everybody who's in that job or everybody else who's up for that job with you is going to have the same skill set. By definition, they're looking for people who have certain skills. And so it's these other things that may be what put you over the top of some of those other people that maybe have been born since 1980. Sorry, guys and women. We will talk about y'all as well. Now, this slide is going to drive some of you nuts. And that's why I'm putting it up here early, so we get it out of the way. I expect a lot of eye rolling. I expect you to be going, seriously, that's an issue? And the answer is yes. I figure we're up against enough true age discrimination issues that are harder to deal with. Let's take care of the ones that are easy to deal with first, okay? So, first of all, if you have an AOL, Yahoo, or Hotmail account, ditch it. Because anybody who looks at that resume is going to go, really? They even know what AOL is? Okay? You should be, by the way, in your career search, It's helpful to have an email address that's specific to your career search so that things are coming directly to that box and you're not getting inundated with a million different things. But if you have any of those, sorry folks, you're old, you're up here with me. You still put 2 spaces after a period. Okay? Some of you will not even recognize it. How many of you are very visual people? When you glance at a sheet of paper, you're going to go, there's something wrong with that. Why is there so much space between the period and the capital letters? That 2 spaces after a period was from the days of the old Selectric typewriter when you had to have that to read it. There are even some, I've been told that some applicant tracking systems actually get confused by 2 spaces, that they don't know what to do with it. Okay? You don't have a strong online presence. Now, this is one of the pushbacks that I get from a lot of my clients. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, but Facebook's for the kids. By the way, they've jumped off Facebook too because we got on there, and then they went to Twitter, and then we got on there, and then they went to Instagram. The kids leave as soon as we jump onto their social media platforms, okay? But not having a strong online footprint is almost as bad as having something objectionable on your online footprint. It's not about being old, it's about being relevant. Especially in Austin, Texas, which is a technology-driven city. Now, we don't like Twitter for obvious reasons. When it first came out, it was all about, I got broccoli stuck in my teeth after dinner that night. And then no matter what side of the aisle you sit on right now, though, you can see the impact that Twitter has. And Twitter, you can get up-to-the-minute intel on things that are going on in companies. There's actually an advanced search feature in Twitter that a lot of people don't know exist. There's a job search function in Twitter. The two social media platforms that I require of my clients, LinkedIn and Twitter, believe it or not, and Facebook for Austin Digital Jobs for those that are appropriate. But social media is really important for relevance, okay? You speak negatively about social media. You can think whatever you want to think about it, but don't let it out of your mouth, okay? Oh yeah, my kids, they can't, they're always on Facebook, whatever. Don't let it out of your mouth. Don't let it escape just because you think it. Use parentheses around your area code. Remember, we used to not have to use area codes unless we were dialing long distance. Now an area code is just part of your phone number. Get rid of the parentheses. So again, y'all, these are dumb and silly and eye-rolling, but super easy to fix, okay? Okay, I'm done. Go get your jobs now. Just kidding. All right. That was easy, right? If that's all it takes. All right, but seriously, I'm going to give you a few moments to talk amongst yourselves here. And this is where I need y'all to put on a little bit of tough skin. Okay? Because we are going to talk about the different generations in the workplace. Now, for the sake of this whole presentation, I have divided this into seasoned workers and newer workers. I did not go through and do baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennial, Gen Z, all of that kind of stuff. It's just broke it down for ease. For the next few minutes, I want you to turn to someone sitting next to you. And I would like for you to come up with the top 5 stereotypes of millennials in the workplace. Okay? All right, go for it. And millennials, don't worry, you're going to get your shot too. All right, a couple of minutes here. Jot them down. I am going to ask you to share. When I told you a little while ago we were going to do something where I was going to ask you to put on a little bit of thick skin, now's the time that I need my 1980s plus people to put on thick skin for a moment. Okay. So, I'm a little bit scared because I started looking and there are a lot of groups that came up with a whole lot more than 5. So, what are some of the ones that came out? What else? Snowflakes, good grief! And you're one of the millennials! Got it. What else? Irresponsible, me-focused.
Call cell service.
All right, we're not going to go through all of them. Was that device dependent? That was the one over here. Congratulations, my Gen X and baby boomer colleagues. You just did to the millennials what we worry about them doing to us. Okay? The point that I want to make with that is, folks, the baby boomers didn't like the Gen Xers when we came along. Each generation has its quirks. If y'all have ever walked through the floor of Capital Factory, where there are millennials on beanbag chairs and standing up, and you're going, there's no work going on here, but you listen to the conversations, wow, there's some brilliant things going on in that room. Now, I did this on purpose, not to make you feel guilty, but to let you know that the problem with all of this is not the stereotype itself. And we'll get to that shortly. Now, just to be fair, I'm not going to have you break up again, but what are some of the stereotypes about us old folks?
Feeble.
We're feeble. Hang on a minute. Feeble, sticks in the mud.
Cranky.
Yeah, your technology.
What was that? Want too much money for too much experience? Okay? Slow.
No work-life balance. Opinionated.
Opinionated.
Yeah, inflexible.
Luddites.
What was that?
Luddites.
Luddites?
Already got that.
Is that new technology?
That's it, and unable to do that. So y'all, some of these you're probably looking at and going, yeah, that's kind of me. And others you're going, no, that's not me at all. Now, here's the deal. Come on, go. Here's some of the ones that are out there, okay? These are the ones that are the research-based. I'm going to tell, what was your name again? No. When I first put up the question, she pulled out her phone and started doing this. I said, are you Googling this? Because the other thing that the millennials are known as, they're known as the fact-finding generation. They can find a fact about anything. Ask them something, the date something happened, but the stereotype is ask them to then critically think about it, analyze it, and come up with something to do about it. Not so much, yeah. And so it's kind of the opposite here. We seasoned professionals, we're less motivated because we're just winding down to retirement. We don't care anymore. We don't want to learn anything new. Am I right? No. But these are the research-based stereotypes of the groups that we're talking about. But here's the problem. Don't believe the hype. How many of you at some point in your career search have gone, nobody's going to want to hire me. I'm too old. The person I interviewed with is 25 years younger than I am. How are they the CEO of the company? I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm not on social media. Folks, when we put the stereotype on ourselves is when it starts to become a problem. When we start to believe the hype because it takes a huge knock on our confidence. And so we're the ones who start saying, gosh, nobody's going to want to hire me. I'm going to hopefully give you some things here that are going to help with getting past that thought process, but that's the first piece. How many employers does it take to hire you? One. How many hiring managers do you need to convince? One. Not the whole world, not every company on the planet. You're not a good fit for every company on the planet anyway. One employer is all it takes to have that conversation. But unless you can get past your own head, and by the way, for the millennials, the opposite of that is, gosh, why are they going to hire me? I don't have as much experience as all of these people, and I sit in these rooms with executives, and I don't feel like I have anything to say because I'm a newbie. Guess what? No, we were all there. We were all new at some point. So don't believe the hype. Now, I'm going to break this into two segments. One about getting to the interview, and then one about things to talk about in the interview that may be helpful. So, mobilize your network. Besides this group on Fridays, raise your hand if you are attending even one more group networking activity each week. Oh, awesome. That's not a job search group. Okay, so think about that. How many of you are holding informational interviews and reaching out to companies that do not have jobs posted? Okay, fewer hands there. Y'all, those things are critical. It's about the network. Now, send out your scouts. When I mentioned earlier that part of the problem, or one of the stereotypes, is that we're not relevant, we're not going to be able to get along, we're not going to be a fit with the younger generation in the workplace, get some people to vouch for you. Rather than having your former CEO who's retiring next year write a recommendation for you, or in addition to, have the 35-year-old who was one of your employees write a recommendation for you about how well respected you were and about how everybody followed you, they believed in you, you mentored them. Find the people in your world who are part of the generation that you're worried about being discriminated by, and get them on your team. Okay? Identify people who used to work for your former employers in LinkedIn. Does everybody know where how to get to the advanced search in LinkedIn? Or are you just using the little white box? Okay. Just a little tip here, again, off script. Here's LinkedIn, and here's your white box that's your search one at the search box at the top left. Right next to it, there's that little magnifying glass. In here, leave it blank, click on the magnifying glass. And it's going to take you to a page, and you're going to click on something that says All Filters. And All Filters allows you to search by past companies, current companies, universities, job titles, names, all of these other things. So let's say that you were laid off by Bazaar Voice. You can go into LinkedIn and look for people who used to work at Bazaar Voice and see where they are now. What that would do then, that person is going to understand maybe what your experience was like at Bazaar Voice, maybe why you chose to leave that company. But again, you're mobilizing a network beyond just the ones who you think are the CEOs who might be hiring you. You can also identify people who graduated from the same college or program that you did. Have y'all all used the university search in LinkedIn, where you can go in and it'll tell you can search by the degree they held, what job they do, all of those kinds of things. So grow and mobilize the network. Somebody define the word mobilize for me. Put it in motion. Put them to work. Okay? Too often we passively network. We tell our network, hey, I'm looking for a job, let me know if you know of anything. And how many times do you get the call back that says, hey, I just heard such and such? You do some, but the thing is, once you talk to them, as good a friend or a professional colleague as they are, they were not necessarily, you're not top on their priority list, they go back to work. It's not that they don't want to help, but mobilize the network, get them working for you, tell them what you need from them and what your concerns are. Secondly, skill up. How many of you can learn anything? Just give me the opportunity. Don't tell me that, go do it. Okay? This is part of what we also run into in interviews, is we sit in interviews and they say, well, do you have experience in Agile? Well, I don't, but I can learn it really quickly. If you know that Agile is a requirement, go learn it before you go into the interview, or learn something about it, at least to be conversational. As you are looking at job postings and you're applying to jobs, identify technologies or skills or certifications that you don't have that you think may be, that are universal to the jobs that you're looking for, and go learn about those. The things that we have on the bullets that I have here are places where you can do these things for free in most cases. LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, LinkedIn bought lynda.com a few years ago, and I think probably all of you are on the Job Seeker Premium. So you have access to all of those, and whenever you do what's called a learning path on LinkedIn, you actually get a LinkedIn certification that appears on your profile. And these are legitimate learnings. I mean, the project management one is like, I want to say it's 20 hours or something. And it's legitimate enough to where PMI allows you to use those things for CEUs. It's not like defensive driving where you go in and you hit play and you go do laundry and then you come back and take the 10-question quiz. It's legitimate learning. Skill Success, Coursera, Groupon. The thing with Coursera and Groupon is that companies that are trying to get some training stuff going, they may put some things on there dirt cheap because they're trying to get their name out there. Public libraries, we forget those still exist. And then one that I forgot to put on here, y'all know what MOOCs are? MOOC, M-O-O-C. MOOC stands for Mass Open Online Course. And it comes from, I think there were a couple of professors at Stanford who started it, where there was a concern about money and what it was taking to get college degrees. And so some professors, and now it's all around the world, will teach their courses online. You don't get college credit for it, but you get the exact same knowledge that you would get if you were sitting in the class for free. MIT has some of the MOOCs in there. I mean, when you put in MOOC, it'll allow you to actually, when you go to the MOOC website, you can search by the different universities. Mass Open Online Course, M-O-O-C. Okay? Now, none of these are going to take the place of, actually going and sitting in a classroom and getting training and getting a certification and all of that. But if it's something where, okay, I've got an interview next Tuesday and I'm not going to be able to get a certification between now and then, there are other ways to get some knowledge to start talking the language beyond, oh yeah, I can learn it, okay? Mine, age-friendly employers and job sites. Now, there are a ton of them out there. I didn't put ARP on here because that one's almost too obvious. Some of these that are interesting, retiredbrains.com and Work at Home Vintage Experts are specifically for remote jobs for those of us in the closer to the end of our careers than to the beginning of our careers. But there are all kinds of different ones in there. Kathy is involved in the one here at ACC. I mean, there are multiple things that are there. Retirementjobs.com actually has a certified age-friendly employers, where there's something that the company has to go through to talk about how they encourage the boomers and Gen Xers in the workplace there. Take care of those things from the beginning. Okay, these were the silly, set up a more modern, relevant email address, change your docs to one space after the period, build and update your digital footprint, refrain from negative talk about social media, remove the parentheses from your area codes. Yes, ma'am.
Having an account is okay. I mean, if there's an account for activity, should you make sure your name is...
You want to do things with Twitter, and this goes with LinkedIn as well. Thank you for asking that. How many of you actually post things to LinkedIn and Twitter? Okay. You should all be posting. What I tell my clients to start out, like 3, share or retweet 2, post or tweet 1 every week. Your goal there is to start to get some visibility out of the people that you're reaching out to directly. The part of that gets the most traction is retweeting and sharing. Because when you share something on LinkedIn or you retweet something on Twitter, everyone in your network sees that you've done it, and everyone in the network of the person that originally posted whatever it was sees that you've done it. So it really, it can double the number of people that start to see your name and just from name recognition. Yes, ma'am.
What would you suggest for us to focus on Twitter as in like what topics to talk about? Because you're not just going to talk about your dog and your personal.
Correct. Okay, don't talk about your dog and your personal stuff. Don't talk about politics. Please. Go ahead.
I found it was useful just to set up a new Twitter account that was related to my professional activities, and it was that way my personal Twitter account, I can still go out and say whatever I like,
Yep.
but my picture's not on it, and I'm on fine.
One thing to think about is before you start posting stuff, identify the different hashtags associated with some of the things that you do. And then think about posting things that are specific to those hashtags. You can come up with original content if you want, But frankly, sharing other content and putting things out there, I think, again, gets more attention. And rather than, like in LinkedIn, rather than giving an opinion on what you've posted, ask for people's opinions. Because then there's a conversation that starts under your post. And again, everybody involved in that conversation and everybody in their networks sees your name. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Could you repeat the formula that you said very quickly you should be doing it?
Oh, like 3, click, click, click. Like 3, share or retweet 2, post or tweet 1 every week. Like 3, share 2, post 1 every week. You don't have to. You can go onto Hootsuite and some things like that that are social media management tools where you don't have to post one thing on LinkedIn and then post something on Twitter and then post something wherever. It will allow you to have up to 3 different social media platforms that you post on one, and it'll post it in all the different spots. There's one called Hootsuite.com. There's one called Buffer. There are several. Just look for social media management tools.
So, I mean, I've been trying to get a little bit more active on LinkedIn and do what you're saying, like posting, but it's really, like, I'm constantly second guessing because I know even if I make a comment somewhere deep in the comments, everybody on the network sees it. And so I have to be really, really careful about what I say, because especially if I don't agree with something and I make a comment about it, I mean, I want to comment about things, but then I could be shooting myself in the foot just making one little thing saying I don't agree with something, or it's just, I find it difficult to comment on anything or post anything because I end up not doing it at all.
Well, and that's why I said don't comment on it. Post something and then ask for other people's opinions on it. Don't give your opinion on it. Let other people talk under your initial post of whatever it was. Other questions there? I mean, Shannon, are we okay time-wise? Because we're kind of going down a... Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Other things social media-wise, we can go on forever about this stuff. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on Facebook?
I'm on it like crazy. There are Austin Digital Jobs. I know that y'all all, I know they talk about that here. If you are in any way involved in digital anything, anywhere, now they are very strict about what's allowed to go on there. It needs to be digital job in a digital world, non-digital job in a digital world, digital job in a non-digital world, but it's got to be somehow digital. They are very, very good about helping each other out. And this is not like a Yelp or something like that. They can't give reviews. It is strictly to post jobs and to get jobs and to give job advice. So for me, that site alone is worth a Facebook dig. Okay? Other than that, I don't encourage my clients to use it much in terms of their actual search.
I have a question regarding countries. I have done a lot. And now the time comes where I'm guided to what I want to apply for. What would you suggest regarding reaching out to the people that you've done initial interviews to asking for the job?
I tell you what, can you hold that question? Let's get through what we're here to do, and then I can hang out and answer questions about whatever. So, yeah, no, I think that's a good question we'll get to. I saw a hand over there.
The thing that I always worry about on social media is we always hear that when you put something out there, it's out there forever, right?
Yep.
So if I'm sure all of us have put something out there that we wish we had at some point in time. That's the fear I think a lot of us have. So if we create a presence there after those comments have been made 10 years ago.
Well, you can start with a little bit different presence, and here's a little bit different perspective on that. My guess is that none of you have anything out there that is truly illegal, immoral, just horrendous stuff, okay? I had a client last fall who I was talking with, and he said, Courtney, it's November in Austin. It's hunting season in the hill country. Every picture on my Facebook page is of whatever Bambi I killed and drug home for dinner. Is that going to be a problem? And my response to him was, do you want to work for PETA? No. Do you want to work for a company where every Monday during hunting season you go in and somebody is giving you a hard time about your favorite hobby? No. Then leave it up there, because the next CEO who hires you, the offer may come sitting in a deer blind at 6:30 in the morning, when it's 40 degrees outside. Now, I just bring that one up because it's a fairly obvious one. But go back and look at your social media stuff and ask yourself what the deal breakers are. You know, the other one that I deal with a lot is clients that I work with who are part of the GLBTQ population. And a question I ask for them is, do you want your partner, your wife, your husband to be allowed to be part of the company Christmas party? Or do you just keep that all buried and you don't want your social life brought into the workplace at all? Their answer to that question drives what goes on their social media. You know, if it's, I want my partner, I want my husband or wife to be able to come to all the stuff, then you post all the stuff you want to post with as many rainbows as you want to do. If, however, you're concerned about that, then you don't. But it's all about determining for you what your deal breakers are in terms of your social media. Did that answer your question? It was a long answer to a short question. Did that answer your question?
I was worried about all that stuff that's out there forever. And if you've ever put anything personal out there, and, you know, my take on it is everything you put out there should be professional, non-personal, non-controversial as much as possible, and you're safe, but people just don't do that.
I post articles a lot, like in for healthcare. I'll post like, look, they did this study, or look, the CDC is doing that, and, you know, kind of what do people think, and I post that. And then also, if I see that one of my contacts has been in an article, or is speaking at an event, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, hey, everybody, Sydney's going to be on this panel next Tuesday at 4, you know, come join us. And that way you're just promoting other people also, but you're still out there. So that's a way to do it without feeling like, oh, you're, you know.
I'm going to throw something else at you here, though, and that is, raise your hand if you've hired people before. Yep. Okay. You're at your desk, you're getting ready to interview some people. You have 5 resumes sitting on your desk. Resume number 3 is the best one on paper. Do you always hire resume number 3? No. Why not? They're the best one on paper. Personality, do they fit? There's something different. This is one of the relevance things that we talk about because we baby boomers and Gen Xers were raised in a world of there's business and there's personal and never the two shall meet. And that is not the way of the workplace anymore. About fit, when you go interview with Google in certain circumstances, you go do one interview that's a pretty standard interview, and the next interview they ask you to either Googlefy or Googletize yourself. They want to know something about you outside of the workplace. They want to know what drives you. And so the fear of meshing personal with professional is really gone. Now that doesn't mean you're going to talk about your divorce and your kids and all of that. But talking about things that you enjoy, things that you're into, that's what helps to determine fit. And so I don't think, unless, when you were talking, somebody up here said, what has he got? Everyone's like, what have you got back there? If it's just stuff about your family or your dog or whatever, who cares? It's part of who you are, and companies hire a whole person, okay?
If you had your identity stolen, would you advise being careful in what you post on social media? That's what concerns me.
Well,
I've had mine stolen, and it's a cookie problem.
So I don't want to get into all the legal aspects of this because I'm not that, and I certainly understand the fear. But you've got to make that decision for yourself. I mean, I don't think you can steal an identity straight off of Facebook. There are no social security numbers. There are no, nothing like that. It's just a name.
You're like that. Take your year of birth off your Facebook profile.
Okay.
That's one of the things that we have out
Got
on
it.
Facebook. Also, don't play the games where you answer 12 questions about your past.
Yeah.
Do not do that.
Exactly.
Tell everybody where you lived for the last 2 years.
Yeah, y'all, again, this is the world that we were raised in. I will tell you, and I'll get to these last 2 questions. When I started doing this job in 2004, it was, oh my gosh, whatever you do, stay off of social media. Nothing good will ever come of this. It's going away. The end of the world is coming because of social media. And then a couple of years later, it was, this LinkedIn thing looks like it's here to stay. Dip your toe in the water, but just do a profile. Don't post anything. Just get your profile out there. And your profile meant put your resume on LinkedIn. Now, folks, it's full speed ahead. When you go to a conference, you register with a Twitter handle. And that's how they push conference changes and all that. It is the way of the world. And this, y'all, this conversation is exactly one of the issues that we deal with age discrimination. Because if we were sitting in a room of 60 millennials and 5 or 6 of us, the conversation would be completely different. This is what we talk about. We talk about relevance. And then we're going to move on here. Let's see. Go ahead.
I gotta speak as the other person who's just not.
Please do.
Into this stuff. And I find the whole social media, putting your posts out there, I just find it depressing and exploitative.
And so what this just proved is not all millennials are tech dependent. And this is where we start getting away from the stereotypes. Y'all, let's go ahead and move on, and then we can come back to questions at the end, okay? Because I want to make sure that we get through everything. Okay, so that was stuff to do to hopefully get you to the interview. Now, what do you do once you're in there? What are the conversations that you have to help to convince this employer who is the hiring manager is 20 years younger than you are, that you're a good fit and you're the right one for that job, okay? All right, first thing is we've got to embrace the differences. It's a symbiotic, or it should be symbiotic workplace relationships. It should be a dual exchange of information. Too often we talk about the more seasoned professionals are adding knowledge to the newer ones. Guess what, folks? We can learn a whole lot from the people who are coming up through the ranks. This is a two-way street. Now, for those of us who are used to going into interviews, going in to change the world and save the world, stop. Go in to help. Companies hire people because they have needs, and they need people to help them fill those needs and take care of problems. And so when you're in an interview, you should be asking questions like, what keeps you up at night? Why is the position being hired right now? What are the problems going on in the company right now? Because it's in those conversations that you learn the true needs, and you can go into it with a perspective of, I can help you with that. I can help solve that problem for your company. But it's hard to know which of your skills to talk about if you don't know what the company needs. And the job description doesn't always tell you. You know, lots of companies have pretty generic job descriptions that they put out there for certain titles, and then you get into interviews and you get frustrated because they're asking you stuff and you're going, wait a minute, that wasn't in the job description. Anybody experience that? Doesn't have to be. But if you start asking questions like, again, what problems are we trying to solve? What keeps you up at night? Then you're getting at that, what do they really need, and you know what part of your experience to focus on beyond other people. You want to emphasize individual development regardless of the end of the spectrum. Again, remember that one of the knocks against us is that we don't want to learn anymore, or we can't learn anymore. And so we've got to go for that learning in both directions and creating opportunities for knowledge transfer. Now, as I get into these next few slides, I want you to think about these, of how these could be answers to interview questions of things like, you realize that your entire team is, I actually had a client this was good. You realize that the oldest person in the Austin office is 23. Are you okay with that? Okay. So here are some answers to questions sort of like that, and you can figure out how to frame them. The younger generation does not want to be managed. They want to be coached and they want to be mentored. Is that correct? Yes. Now, part of what goes with that, when we talk about them being transient, it's not that they're transient. It's not that they're not getting the mentorship and the development that they want, so they leave. So one of the things that you can be talking about in your interviews is your ability to manage and develop people to reduce turnover, keeping them in those roles, keeping these brilliant millennials in your company rather than moving every 2 years because they're not getting what they need. Okay? Mentor, don't manage. So you're going to create learning experiences. Now, one of my clients actually coined the term 30-minute mentor, which I love. You know, a lot of us don't necessarily have time to sit down weekly for 2 hours and mentor somebody. But from a 30-minute mentor perspective, we all get a general idea of what a mentor might be. And so grab those people, tell them, I'd like to set up these things. How would you manage people? Well, I would like to see myself really as a mentor for these people. And each week we're going to sit down for 30 minutes and run through a few questions, mentor them, and get us back to work. So be a mentor. Provide nano-learning opportunities. It is a generation of quick learning, sound bites, okay? TED Talks, most of them, I think the time limit on is 20 minutes, okay? They're short. Anybody here in HR? Okay? People in HR, plan your onboarding activities in 5-minute snippets that people can accomplish. Create your own apps that people can do things. This is not a generation that's going to be they're going to sit in a 3-hour-long meeting going, ugh, please. So, as you're in an interview, well, I can provide learning experiences that are these immediate gratification to get our employees up to speed as quickly as possible. Okay, you see where we're going with this? Encourage analysis and problem solving. Earlier I talked about this generation as being the fact-finding generation. They can find anything. But put them in situations that, or as an employee, as a manager, I'm going to make sure that my employees have opportunities to analyze the business situations, to sit side by side with the decision makers, and to learn that process. So again, you're talking about how you're going to fit in there. Help in assisting, I'm going to help them develop offline communication skills. You know, I'm going to have them presenting things to our team. I'm going to ask that when we're in team meetings that every single person there has presentations to give. I am going to help bring them along. So a lot of this, folks, it's not about your specific skill. Again, it's about fit. And these are the things that are going to show potential employers that you can fit with that generation, especially when the CEO himself or herself is 35 or not, or less. All right, conduct job simulations that involve working closely with others, where they can't be doing this, or we can't be doing this. How many of you today, just out of curiosity, and I did this when I spoke here a year or so ago, how many of you came in here and actually talked to people as opposed to sat here and did this until we started? Okay, so one of the things that one of the stereotypes that we throw at them, we do ourselves when we're in uncomfortable situations. We'd rather be head down doing this than actually talking to human beings. So create situations that force interaction. Create internal crowdsourcing network. So this would be something that you would have, I would, as the manager, I'm going to create a situation where other managers in the company put what their areas of expertise are. And then I'm going to have one of these managers talk to my team once a month to show them some other things. But sometimes we don't know who to go to in the company. We don't know who our resources are for certain things. So purposefully and intentionally create that internal network for exchange of information in both directions. Duh. Expose employees to a variety of senior leaders. Too often, our companies purposely buffer VPs and C-level from our other workers. How do we expect this group to learn what executive presence is and what being an executive looks like if we don't allow them to talk to the executives? Okay? So all of this has to do with creating an environment of mutual information exchange where we are giving the younger generations opportunities for development, and we're listening to them because they're smart and they bring a lot of things to the table that we don't know. We are putting aside our egos and recognizing that we can learn from them as well. But all of these last slides have to do with those interviews, those questions of, how are you going to fit here? Okay, bless you. Okay. Finally, embrace the obvious. Yes, we only put the last 10 years on a resume, but with a few, but with the complete career history. Guess what? As soon as they see your picture on LinkedIn or you walk into their office, they're going to know that you don't just have 10 years of experience. Once you're in there, own it. What is it about being a more seasoned professional that does make you valuable? Don't try to hide it. Embrace it. So, I'm in good health and ready to hit the ground running, because Kathy always likes to say, and I always giggle at this, they wonder what we're going to be able to do without drooling all over ourselves. Okay? That's one of Kathy's favorite phrases. So hit it dead on. I'm ready to hit the ground running. I'm going to be working for a while now. I'm not done. Kids are all grown up, out of the house, got no family distractions. I don't mind spending some extra time. Actually, I'm really glad to leave my husband at home a few nights by himself. Okay? I'm older than the staff I've met, maybe older than my future manager. Totally cool with that. I don't have a problem with that. I can communicate with all kinds of people. I actually enjoy that sort of environment where there can be exchange of ideas. Throughout my career, I have solved blank. So you've asked them what keeps you up at night or what's your current problem? Well, throughout my career, I've done that. I've led teams to address that problem. Let me do it here as well. So draw upon that wisdom of age and decades of employment. Don't back down from it. Which gets back to the slide about confidence and don't believe the hype. The biggest issue is not the stereotypes themselves. It's when we buy into those stereotypes, whatever they are, for whichever generation, and we allow those to sabotage our own efforts in looking for our jobs because we assume certain things. Don't sabotage your efforts. You are valuable in the workplace. Embrace the wisdom, embrace some of the things that we've talked about today, and remember, one employer is all it takes. Got to convince one. Okay. Now, I promised questions. Shannon, are we still okay for time?
Oh, 10 more minutes at least.
Now, I will, and Shannon, if y'all don't want to do video of this part, I'm welcome to answer anything about this. As a career coach, I tend to, as y'all realized at the beginning, throw my 2 cents worth out there on whatever. So we normally go to 11:30-ish?
Yeah.
You guys have 12 minutes, if you choose to pick my brain about anything you'd like to in a career search. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
You should go to noon.
Because I got a stalker.
Okay.
What do I do?
Ay, that's a hard one. I'm not going to answer the question directly.
Courtney, can you read?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the question was, I have a shallow online presence because I had a stalker. What do I do about that? Remember that what I've talked about today and what any career professional, anybody else tells you, is ideal situations and best practice. We all have things, though, that, I have a client in the past who literally was in the witness protection program. That person cannot be on social media. So do what's right for you, okay? We're not going to tie you down and say you have to do these things. But the one thing that can be really damaging is if you do some things that you are really, really, really uncomfortable with, and then your body language or your tone betrays the efforts or the words that you're saying. So the short answer to the question is, if it just freaks you out, don't do it. Okay? Does that answer? What else? I saw several other hands go up. Okay, and what was it again? Refresh my memory.
You've been doing several informational interviews, literally to get informed, and now you're actually going and applying for jobs. How do you go about reaching out to those people, asking for jobs without?
You don't. So the question was, you've been doing informational interviews, and you've done a lot of those, and now you're actually applying to jobs with the companies, for those people that you did the informational interviews with. How do you carry that forward? So the answer is you touch base with them, and you say, hey, wanted to thank you again for the conversation that we had last month or whenever it was. Turns out there is a position in your company that I'm really interested in, and I wondered if you'd be in a position to give me some tips about how to best approach it. Okay? And they may tell you things, there's certain companies, like I did one yesterday for a client who was interested in Blackbaud, and I sent a thing over to my friend there that said, hey, this client's interested in a position at Blackbaud, what do you suggest? And he said, I want to have coffee with him before he does anything, get him to send my resume over to him, and then we'll go from there for how to best approach it. Because a lot of companies give finder's fees for people who refer people in, but if you've already applied before the referral, it's not retroactive. So anytime that you can tap somebody, and even if you haven't had an informational meeting with them, even if it's sending out a LinkedIn request to somebody that says, hey, I'm really interested, there's a job that I've seen in your company, I wonder if you'd be willing to talk to me on the phone for 5 minutes and give me some tips about how to best navigate this company's hiring practice. I'd really appreciate it. And what's the worst that they can do? Say no? Okay, if you don't ask, the answer's no.
Quick question that has to do with both the more seasoned professional as well as the newly motivated one.
Okay.
How does one frame experience that's so old, people are worried, do you even remember that? And experience that might be superficial or not substantial, even though you might be passionate about developing that.
Okay.
So both, the flip sides of both.
So the question was, how do you frame either, I've got this experience that's so old, how do we make that relevant to today? Or the other way, I've got fairly shallow experience, how do I convince people that I've got enough to do the job? So I'm going to go at this from two directions. As you know, we only go back on the resume 10, 12, maybe 15 years. I had a client once who was IT director at NASA at the height of the space shuttle program. You know, how do you leave that off just because it happens to be longer than 10 to 15 years ago? Keep in mind that resumes and interviews, and this is going to throw some of you for a minute, so hang in there, are not about what you've done in the past. They're about what you can do for a company moving forward. Your experience is the proof that you can do what you claim to do. So, if it is experience that's really, really old, but is still relevant, just talk about how it's relevant and what it means today. Not what it meant then, but how does it still fit in the world today. If it's shallow experience, just talk about the experience that you do have. One of the things that I encourage my clients never to say is, no, but. Okay? Not, do you have this, no, but I've da-da-da-da-da-da. Because as soon as you say no, but, guess what? They've tuned out. What do you have experience with this? Well, I have similar experience in this. So just start with what you do have that's similar, and that's where that shallow experience comes in, because you're still talking about what you do have rather than what you don't have. Now, one caveat to that. I always ask my clients, when we look at a position, what do you not have that they're looking for? Okay? And then the follow-up question is, will that keep you from doing the job well? If it's a project management job and you don't have PMP certification, but you've been managing products for 20 years, I don't care if you don't have PMP certification, but you better network your way into that job, because if you're sending stuff just through the online portals, you're going to get eliminated because you don't have the certification. If I'm having brain surgery, the person cutting open my skull better be someone who is licensed to do it, who has done it recently, and has been successful at it. You see the difference? And so, again, if it's a skill that comes up that you think either I'm going to be way behind the 8 ball, don't try to force your way through that one. That's just, you know what, this may not be a good fit. But otherwise, if you know it's something that you can do, do it. I'm going to throw one other thing in here, and then I'm going to zip it and let y'all ask more questions. This is also the difference in the research between men and women. Okay, there are different ways that men and women address these situations. Women, when they're asked, well, can you do this? Well, you know, I've done it kind of in this situation. I haven't, maybe just a year. I mean, I haven't done it a whole lot. I mean, we tend to be really, really honest about it. And then we say, but, yeah, I can do it. For the most part, men, you ask it, yep, got it. And then they'll figure out how to do it the day they start the job. But that is a research-based theory about how men and women react to things differently in the professional world, because it's just the way that we have been socialized professionally. Don't be afraid to say, I can do it, even if you don't have the actual experience. Can I throw in one more little thing here, or am I talking too much? Y'all know who Ricky Williams is? Heisman Trophy winner? Do you know that Ricky Williams was not a scholarship athlete at the University of Texas? He wasn't, because he had signed a professional baseball contract. And because he had done that, he was not allowed to be on scholarship at the University of Texas. He was a walk-on. That did not keep him from winning the Heisman Trophy and being one of the best running backs ever in the history of the planet. Now, think about it from your professional stuff. People always ask, well, I just did that as a volunteer thing. So? How much money do CEOs make when they first start their companies? Just because they have a zero paycheck, does that keep them from being able to do something? So don't put these roadblocks in front of you that say, well, I've never held that title. I don't care if you've held the title or not, if you can do the job. And that's what you need to be constantly asking yourself. Is this a job that I can do? And how can I talk about my experience in a way that shows the employer that I can do it? Other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
You mentioned, I've heard this from other places too, that you put only 10 to 15 years of your most recent experience. How do you deal with situations where they feel that you're trying to hide something in terms of not putting all the experience that you have in there?
So are you talking about it for how to actually put it on the resume, or how to address the question in an interview? Or both?
Both.
Okay. So on a resume, you're going to do your years of experience, okay? You know, here's company, title, information, blah, 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 down to about 10 to 15 years. You want a place where there's a natural break in your resume, okay? And that's where you'll have the dates, and you'll have the titles, and you'll have all the achievements and all the stuff that's important. Then, down here, you're just going to put prior experience and just list company and title. No dates, no description, no nothing. So that again, when they see that you've probably got more than 10 to 15 years of experience behind you, all of the experience is here. And by the way, this is how we handled NASA. You know, it said NASA down here, and then there was something in the achievements up top where she mentioned what those specific things were. Now, the answer to the question of why didn't you have all this on your resume? Because it wasn't relevant. In the course of my job search, I chose to only include things on my resume that are directly relevant to the jobs that I'm going after. Because some of that stuff from 20 years ago is completely irrelevant to anything. I mean, those of us who had computer science degrees from 1973, you know, that it doesn't mean anything anymore. So the answer is, I made a choice. And y'all, resumes are about choices. You do not have to put everything you've ever done on your resume. No one ever said you did, but for some reason we've got that in our heads. Yeah, that's why you get to choose what you put on there.
I think the biggest thing I learned from Captain Carter at ACC is that your resume is not a legally binding application. That's a record of your values as a human.
Yep.
As I struggle with seeing my resume as my values as a human, and I think a lot of guys do. And that's pretty depressing when you're sitting there without work and you're looking at the 2 pages and going, how do I summarize my value in 2 pages? But what I learned from Captain's team at ACC was, this is the glossy product market that we have on the tables from ACC or other places. The resume is just the glossy thing that covers the business value of your product.
Absolutely.
They'll talk to you when they want to know.
That's it. And that's, if you think about it, if we hired off of resumes, interviews wouldn't matter. There wouldn't be any interviews. The only purpose of a resume is to start the conversation. It's in the interview where you really have to deal with it. And talking about the value piece, how many of y'all were laid off? It stinks, doesn't it? Even though you know that there was nothing that you did wrong, you get laid off from a company after 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, and you're like, oh my goodness. I want you to imagine that I have a $100 bill in my hand, which I don't, because I don't carry cash anywhere. Rudy, I've got a $100 bill here. It's yours, it's a gift, no strings attached. You want it? Sure. Okay? Give me back that. Now I'm going to take this $100 bill, and I'm going to roll it up, and I'm going to put it on the floor, and I'm going to stomp on it, and I'm going to spit on it, and I'm going to pour a cup of coffee on it. And then I'm going to take that $100 bill back up, dry it off a little bit, and say, Rudy, here's a $100 bill, no strings attached, it's a gift, do you want it? Because the value of that $100 bill did not change just because it had gotten stepped on. And that's what y'all need to remember from a professional standpoint. Your value as a professional did not change the day of that layoff. That's the other piece of the mentality that you've got to bring in, is not buying into that what's wrong with me. A layoff is an economic decision. It didn't have anything to do with you. It still hurts, and I'm going to say this word on tape, sorry, and it sucks. But your value did not change the day of that layoff. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, you said if you select just what you think is relevant, there's going to be a gap between, on your resume, say this, here, and that. How do you handle that? Because you're going to be asked anyway.
So 2 things. Keep in mind, how many of you tailor your resume every time you send it? Okay, good. Love seeing that. How many of you run your resume and the job description through JobScan? Okay, fewer people there. JobScan is your friend. The other thing that I like to encourage my clients to do is something that we call a T letter. This is your cover letter. Okay? On this side are job requirements. On this side are your qualifications. And you go down, you want it, I've got it, you want it, I've got it, you want it, I've got it. How could you not want to talk to me, you big dummy? Now, for those of you who go, nobody reads cover letters anymore, some people do. Okay, sending a cover letter to someone who doesn't want one, okay, they'll tear it off, they look at the resume. Not sending a good cover letter to somebody who does look at them is a huge problem. But what this does, in addition to it looks different when you send it to a company and they get some eyeballs on it, is it allows you to really go through that job description bullet point by bullet point and see if you're really a good fit for it or not. Because I think too often we scan those and it looks like it's a good fit, but then we get into an interview and go, oh, I kind of missed that part, okay? Let's see, we are at 11:30.
You can go another 5-10 minutes if you want.
Okay, I'm fine if y'all are. If any of you need to leave, I'm gonna give you permission to leave. If you wanna stay, I'm happy to stay a few more minutes and keep answering questions.
Okay, so just a heads up, I had several interviews this week, but every one of them were different companies. Every one of them were different video platforms. And these are not high-tech companies. So a lot of companies are moving to Skype, Teams, do all these different videos. Sometimes they even ask you to answer the question and record it and send it to them. So just be prepared for that.
So two things with that, and that's becoming very, very common. Interviews that are done real time via Skype, via Zoom, that's my favorite, zoom.us. Make sure that you log on the day before the interview and make sure that you understand how the platform works, because you don't want the interview to be the whole thing where you're messing with the technology. Secondly, there are more where you're getting one-way interviews, where you've got to log on to a site, if a question pops up, you've got 2 minutes to answer the question and then go to the next question. And there's nobody on the other side. Those are hard because you don't get any sort of feedback. You just really have to concentrate on your words, as dumb as that sounds. But you also have to think about where you look in that camera. We are so programmed to look people in the eye that if we're having a conversation via web and we're looking them in their eyes, they're either seeing our eyelids or up our nose because our camera is not where their eyes are on the screen. Just little things like that can make a difference in those types of interviews.
So I am an individual, but I want work-life balance. I have been told, I do volunteer for my kids' school. I'm on the PTO committee. I do a lot, I coordinate a lot of stay-at-home moms to do projects for schools. And I think it's relevant to what I do. I mean, to take on these people, but I've been told, take it off. Don't let them know that you have kids.
Yeah. So that's one of those, that's another one of those deal breakers, kind of like the guy who hunts. I would not have that on your resume or any of your information. Now, it'll come out potentially later in the interview. And y'all remember, an interview is a two-way street. Yes, they're trying to determine if you're a good fit for them, but you're also trying to determine if they're a good fit for you. And if it's a situation where you have to have work-life balance and there is none, you need to walk, because that's not the right situation for you. But hold off till interview 2 or 3 to start talking about those things, okay? Because you don't want to be immediately eliminated just because you brought it up before they get to know you.
I want to also use that I can take these experiences and use them outside as well.
Use it in an interview, not on a resume, okay?
Going back to social media, I know there's this fear that, everything is out there forever, but in practical terms, are employers really combing through years
Absolutely.
of Facebook posts? They are?
Absolutely. Yes. Are employers really combing through Facebook when they're hiring people? Absolutely. And even this was 5 or 6 years ago, there was a study that was done by several of the Ivy League schools where they sent out a survey to companies, small, large, all across the country, asking how they were using social media. And yes, when I hired our last admin, the first thing I did was go into everybody I was interviewing and look at their social media profiles. Absolutely.
So, to that point, and what she was saying up there, one of the first things I did when I started looking for a job was, I'm a single, I'm a divorced mom, I have a teenager, and we have
have lots of pictures on social media. But I had to go through and pretty much make him look like he didn't exist because I didn't want anyone to know that I was a single parent because I thought it would hurt my job.
Y'all, I want you to think about something. We are human beings. We have lives outside of work. Don't be afraid of who you are and what that looks like. If a company doesn't want you to work for them because you're a single mom, do you really want to work for that company?
Carlos, I mean, here in this millennial city, they don't see work-life balance the same way that we do. As a parent, they see work-life balance as going to happy hours and doing team building after work and eating lunch and not going home to your family.
So let's be careful about they, okay? Remember, it's one person, and I know, I mean, trust me, I understand. But here's the other, you were saying something there that popped into my head. Part of it is, when y'all do get your new jobs, and I hope that you are all employed and that I never have to see any of you again in this room, unless you're coming in to speak or do something, you need to set those boundaries the day you start working. Because too often, we get into a new job and we want to make a good first impression, so we're working 12 and 15-hour days thinking, okay, once I'm in, it'll be good and I can go back to work-life balance. Once you have set that precedent, you can't back away from it. That expectation is already out there. So when you do accept your job, the key is in establishing, with my clients, and one of them's in here, I won't ask her to say anything, but one of the things that I say, my first clients is, I have an 8-year-old daughter, I'm a mom, I try to make my evenings my mommy-daughter time, and any email that comes in before 5 o'clock, you'll get a response that day. Anything after 5 o'clock, it'll be the next morning. But immediately setting those boundaries. Most companies are totally cool with it. It's when you've already set the precedent of working 60-hour weeks that then they're like, wait a minute, what happened? So.
I heard Priscilla Shire speak last night, and it was interesting. Somebody asked her about the work-life balance, and she said, I'm not even shooting for that. She said, I'm looking more for an alignment. And she said, because I know I have different priorities at different times. So when I'm making a movie, I know that the movie needs to be, and that my skills as an actor need to be front and center. And she said, but I've got 3 teenage boys, and they need more than 24 hours a day. But if I can align it so that knowing where my foundation is, and that's personal to me. She said, that's not something I share with somebody else when they say, oh, can you do this, or can you add this, or
I had an
can you come work
interview
with
just
this?
yesterday. I phoned it.
Can we move on to a couple of other questions? Sorry. And then 2 minutes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're done.
So I'm going to stick on the social media.
Yep.
I'm not concerned about people knowing who I am. And I know that every job's not a fit for me and vice versa, where I was already being told. My concern about social media is not what I post, it's what other people post, and then that's seen on my pages.
So thank you for bringing that up. While you're in a career search, you need to hide any of your contacts that post things that are objectionable, so that you don't get that guilt by association, and let them know that you're doing that. I'm looking for a job right now. I can't risk your political opinions appearing on my Facebook page and having a potential employer be concerned about that. I'm gonna hide you till I get my job. Okay? Wait, huh? You just go next to their profile or next to something they posted and go hide. It's easy. You can hide any post. I can show you if you pull up your stuff before we leave. Let's see, yes ma'am.
Okay, so going back to the cover letter.
Yep.
Are you saying send it out that way, or are you saying it's actually?
You actually send this chart.
Okay, so yeah.
You still have a speaker, please, one conversation.
I feel like I'm qualified for it, and I'm just like, how best to show it? Everybody's giving me this whole paragraphy type of format, and it's like, the one job I actually took, what they had listed, and I responded exactly to those things. I call back and I'm like, can I do my cover letters that way? But when it comes to the resumes, and it comes to tweaking the resume for the job, in what way besides changing the title that I go for? Is it more like in the skills?
You need to change the skills to make sure you're using their verbiage. For instance, some of the applicant tracking systems aren't smart enough to know that if you have put excellent communication skills on your resume, and the job description says have to be a good communicator, the ATS won't pick up communicator and communication. It has to have the exact word. It can't figure that stuff out. And so that's where you go with the tweaking. I mean, literally, what I have people do is print out the job description, go through and highlight the keywords in it, and then take those exact words and get them in that resume someplace. One of the, Gary, recruiter Gary, who talks here all the time.
O'Neill.
What's that?
O'Neill.
Gary O'Neill was here once, and he was talking about at the end of your resume, you can just put something that says keywords, and just put them all in there. Not white font, visible on there, but just, you've got to have their exact words. I think there was one other person who had their hand up. Yes?
Yes, the last job I had, I quit due to safety issues. That, you know, working with 480AC and people I've worked with that work with me, not want to use lockout tech. And I talked to the manager after about half a year, and he told me they worked twice. So I felt like, you know, I was towards the end of, you know, I'm not there in age now, we're 60-something, but I figured I'm not going to die because these guys are going to be lockout tech now. So I decided to quit another job. I'm having trouble getting back in. Should I put under that I retired, or that not measure?
Remember, it's not about where you've been, it's about what you can do. Focus on the skills and what you can do. Don't worry about what you call yourself 5 years ago or retired. Don't put retired on there, though.